Oppo Find X7 Ultra camera test. Peace be upon you, my dear friends and followers of the channel. How are you today? I hope you are well and in good health. Today with you is a beautiful, new and important video for everyone. This video will be called the Oppo Find X7 Ultra camera test. But before watching the video, subscribe to the channel and like and share so that it reaches the largest number of people. Now let's watch the video and I hope you like it. We put the Oppo Find. This article describes the device's performance in a variety of tests and several common use cases and aims to highlight the most important results of our testing with a snippet of the data captured. Overview. Main camera specifications. Primary camera, 50MP 1-inch sensor, 23mm equivalent lens with f/1.8 aperture, autofocus, optical image stabilization. Ultra-wide camera, 50MP 1.95 sensor, 14mm f/2 equivalent lens, autofocus. Telephoto camera 1, 50MP 1/1.56 sensor, 65mm equivalent lens with f/2.6 aperture, autofocus, optical image stabilization. Telephoto camera 2, 50MP 1/2.51-inch sensor, 135mm equivalent lens with f/4.3 aperture, autofocus, optical image stabilization. Evaluation. Pros: good color rendering and white balance in photos and video, excellent bokeh effect with good subject isolation and high levels of detail, very good detail in medium and long distance photography, good balance of texture and noise in photos and video, even in low light, accurate exposure and wide dynamic range in portraits and landscapes. Cons: slight loss of detail in close-ups and ultra-wide shots, unstable exposure and tone mapping in video, especially in high contrast indoor scenes, sometimes presenting abnormal texture, sometimes slight overexposure in low light photos. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra achieved great results in the DxOMark camera tests and deservedly shares first place in the ranking with the Huawei Mate 60 Pro Plus. Results were excellent across all areas of testing, but the Oppo particularly stood out in terms of taking portraits, thanks to natural, accurate colors and high levels of detail in all shooting conditions. Oppo's latest flagship features an impressive list of hardware specifications, including a 50MP high-resolution image sensor on all 4 camera modules. The main camera comes with a very large 1-inch variant capable of collecting a lot of photons and thus image information. In practice, this resulted in natural-looking images with high levels of detail and low noise in all test conditions. In terms of telezoom, the Find X7 Ultra offers 2 periscope cameras, which deliver very high levels of detail when zoomed from 3x to 6x and beyond, in all lighting conditions. Bokeh images in portrait mode demonstrated accurate subject isolation, as well as excellent color rendition and high levels of detail, thanks to the use of the 3x telezoom unit in this mode. Unlike some other flagship devices, the Find X7 Ultra does not use the HDR format in video but is still based on the 8-bit SDR format. However, video output was still excellent, with accurate subject exposure and wide dynamic range. Videos have vivid colors and natural skin tones, as well as a very good trade-off between detail preservation and noise reduction, even when recording in low light. Please note that our test sample images were captured at default settings in a proprietary HDR format and displayed on the device's screen using Pro XDR technology. Currently, Oppo's own system isn't widely compatible with other Android devices, but Oppo has announced that in the future it will be compatible with Google's Ultra HDR standard. Since DxOMark does not have access to the visualization tools required to evaluate this particular HDR format, our evaluation was performed using an SDR visualization workflow. It's worth noting that Pro XDR shots offer more pleasant contrast in low light conditions than their SDR counterparts. Friends and family. Our testers found the Oppo Find X7 Ultra to be an excellent device for taking photos and videos of friends and family. The camera captured vivid colors, reproduced natural skin tones, and created a gentle bokeh effect. Additionally, it did a great job of freezing motion in scenes with moving objects, allowing the decisive moment to be easily captured. Low lighting. Oppo's latest flagship is one of the best smartphones for photography in low light conditions, similar to its predecessor, the Oppo Find X6 Pro. In our tests, It did a great job of revealing shadow detail with nice contrast, and low light images showed good detail and very low noise. This applies to photos as well as video, with Oppo matching the iPhone 15 Pro Max's ultra-low noise levels. Test summary about XMark camera tests. XMark camera evaluations are conducted in laboratories and in real-world situations using a variety of subjects. The results are based on objective tests, in which results are calculated directly by measurement software on our laboratory setup, and on perceptual tests, in which a sophisticated set of metrics allows a group of image experts to compare aspects of image quality that require human judgment. The smartphone testing involves a team of engineers and technicians for about a week. Image, zoom and video quality are scored separately and then combined into an overall score for comparison between cameras in different devices. For more information about the XMark camera protocol photo and our still image tests, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra delivered great results across all key image quality attributes. Testers were particularly impressed with the balanced color rendition with natural skin tones in all conditions. Exposure was generally pleasing, and the fairly wide dynamic range ensured good detail in both light and shadow areas of the frame. High levels of captured texture and low noise allowed for high-quality portraits and landscapes alike. In addition, well-tuned auto exposure and zero shutter lag, combined with the main camera's large image sensor, allowed the action to be frozen and the decisive moment captured. Unlike some of its competitors, the Oppo doesn't feature a variable aperture, resulting in a slightly shallow depth of field. Therefore, background subjects and group shots were not rendered perfectly in our tests. Testers also noted some contrast and skin tone issues in high contrast scenes, but despite these minor drawbacks, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra delivered generally high-quality still images and a natural display. Approximation zoom is the third use case score introduced with the release of XMark Camera 5. It evaluates a camera's ability to capture detail at distances less than 10 cm and zoom as close to 1:1 as possible. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra automatically switches to the ultra-wide camera module in macro mode. In our tests, the minimum shooting distance in macro mode was slightly longer than most direct competitors, but image quality in macro mode remained acceptable. Exposure in our tests, the Oppo captured still photos with good exposure and a fairly wide dynamic range. In low light conditions, exposure was sometimes too bright, resulting in good detail but taking away some of the low light mood. Images showed good detail in both light and shadow areas of the frame, but testers noted a slight lack of contrast in difficult backlit scenes. Colors were natural, vivid and accurate, with white balance very slightly visible and well controlled. Additionally, all skin tones were well and naturally represented in all lighting conditions. Occasionally, testers noticed slightly oversaturated colors affected by contrast issues. Autofocus. The Oppo's autofocus was fast, accurate, and reliable. Instant shots with zero shutter lag were achieved in most conditions, but not always in high contrast scenes. The large sensor in the main camera module of the Oppo Find X7 Ultra provides a fairly shallow depth of field. As a result, some subject isolation was achieved in portrait shots, but in group shots, background subjects were not rendered quite as sharply. Unlike some competitors, like the Huawei Mate 60 Pro Plus, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra doesn't feature a variable aperture, but it still manages to preserve some detail in background subjects using software processing. Image artifacts were very well under control on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra. Some shadows can only be seen slightly in some scenes containing action. Sometimes, some image processing inaccuracies in difficult scenes may lead to face rendering artifacts. Portrait mode is one of Oppo's strengths. Like its direct competitors in the ultra-premium segment, the Find X7 Ultra produced good depth estimation and accurate blurring, even around fine details. However, using the 3x telephoto camera in portrait mode is a major advantage over the competition as it offers a more suitable angle of view for portraits, while providing good detail and accurate skin tones. Preview. In our tests, the on-screen preview image was very close to the final capture, but as in most competitors, dynamic range was more limited in the preview, and the bokeh effect was less precise and sharp than in the final image. Zoom in. Zoom is one of the main strengths of the Oppo Find X7 Ultra camera. Compared to the previous model, the new model comes with better telephoto hardware, as it now offers two telephoto camera modules with a large sensor. As a result, high levels of detail were captured at telephoto zoom settings between 3x and 6x and beyond. Additionally, noise levels were low, and images showed good exposure and color accuracy. However, Oppo does not apply any image stitching when zooming close up, 1x to 3x. In our tests, this resulted in lower levels of detail, compared to direct competitors using image stitching, at close-up zoom levels. At an equivalent focal length of 14mm, the ultra-wide camera offers a slightly wider field of view than the Find X6 Pro. Zoom in on the video. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra delivered high levels of fine detail as well as low noise when zoomed in video mode. Despite the addition of camera modules, transitions are still handled well with little change in framing, and the changes are only slightly visible in terms of exposure and color. But still, smoother transitions are achieved in the market by the Apple iPhone 15 Pro Max. Oppo's new flagship ultra-wide camera comes with a wider focal range and a slightly smaller image sensor than the equivalent unit of its predecessor, resulting in a wider field of view. However, image distortion and distortion were handled well and were only noticeable in a few shots. Compared to its more direct competitors, the Find X7 Ultra's ultra-wide camera captured slightly lower levels of detail. Image noise was well under control. When using the telephoto zoom, the Oppo captured excellent levels of detail with the dedicated 3x telephoto camera. The same was true of the 6x long telephoto zoom unit. In addition, the level of detail captured was consistently high at zoom levels intermediate between the two telephoto zoom units. However, unlike its predecessor, the Find Video. In our tests, the Oppo Find X7 Ultra's performance in video mode was excellent. As with still images, color rendition was very good, with well-controlled white balance and pleasant skin tones. The camera recorded high levels of detail while managing noise reduction, even in low light. Unlike some competitors, for example, the latest generation iPhone, Oppo does not record in HDR format. However, even in SDR format, videos provided accurate exposure as well as a fairly wide dynamic range with good contrast. Additionally, video autofocus was fast and accurate, and the stabilization system did a good job of keeping things smooth and stable in all lighting conditions. Video exposure was accurate and recorded footage offered a wide dynamic range. However, our testers also noticed some slight instability and abrupt exposure transitions. Color rendition in video was fairly natural and accurate, providing a nice rendition of skin tones, even in warm low light, which often has a negative impact on skin tones. As for exposure, transitions in changing lighting conditions could have been smoother for a more natural effect. Video autofocus was fast and accurate while maintaining good subject tracking. Additionally, focus transitions were fairly smooth and lacked distracting stepping effects. As for still images, the level of detail captured in video mode was very high. The Oppo Find X7 Ultra particularly stood out in indoor and low light recording, where it managed to maintain high levels of detail. In some challenging low light conditions, movement in the scene can cause distortions in scene integrity and loss of texture, but overall, the Oppo's videos provided good detail with natural rendering. Video noise was handled very well on the Oppo Find X7 Ultra in all lighting conditions. Noise was barely noticeable in most areas of the frame and could only become slightly visible around moving elements in the scene. Video stabilization was effective in countering camera shake. The loss of clarity was only occasionally noticeable in some frames of videos recorded while walking. Unwanted image artifacts were well under control in video mode. Only a very few traces were noticeable, including some occasional squiggles. At the end of the video, I thank you for watching and I hope you liked it, and see you in a new video.